So you've been asked to shoot your first wedding. A friend or colleague might have asked you, and you're probably feeling pretty nervous about shooting the day. So today I want to go through things that I wish I knew when I first shot my very first wedding. And if you do have any questions remaining, just drop a comment and I will get straight back to you. Firstly, I just want to cover a quick controversial topic, I guess you could say, which is it's okay to shoot your first wedding for free. If it's going to make you feel better that you're not charging, if it's going to make you feel better on the day, then don't charge. If you don't think you should be charging yet, then don't do it. That's totally fine. On the other hand, your time is worth something. So if you feel like you should charge, then do it. For my first ever wedding, I charged £450. But before I did the wedding, I attended a wedding with someone else. So if you can do that, if you can second shoot for someone or literally just shadow them for the entire day, that's a great way to see how weddings work. But if you don't have the time to do that, if the wedding that you're shooting is coming up very soon and you just don't have time to organize it, then carry on watching because we're going to go through all the points that are really going to help you on the day. So firstly, it's important that you set your expectations for the couple that you're going to be working with, regardless of what your photography experience is. If it's not in weddings, weddings are very, very different to every other type of photography that there is. I would recommend setting your expectations with the couple quite low so that they're not expecting, professional grade images. This again is going to make things so much less stressful for you, which is really what we want because we want you to enjoy the day. Your photos probably aren't going to be amazing, and that's absolutely fine as long as you can walk away from the day with your head held high, knowing that you've enjoyed the process of the whole day and have had a positive attitude. So set your expectations going in. Just make sure that the couple know that you haven't done a wedding before and it's very new to you, but you are going to do your research. And then next, you're going to want to find out what your client's must-haves are, so at least you don't miss those. So what you're going to want to do is ask open-ended questions like, what do you guys enjoy doing the most? What's your favorite music? What is the most important things to you? This might be family, it might be friends, it might be the connection between them. Whatever they say, take this into the day. If they say, we love our friends, we love spending time with them, make sure you're getting loads of candidates of friends. You're probably going to be getting them anyway, but if they've made it clear that it's very, very important to them, focus on that specifically. And when I say find out what your clients' must-haves are, I don't mean ask them to create a shot list, because shot lists are the thieves of creativity. You don't want to be confined to a shot list. It might be helpful for you to make your own shot list going into the wedding, so we'll talk about that in a sec, but make sure that you know what the must-have shots from your clients are. Just quickly on the point of shot list though, it is okay to ask for a group shot list, so the family portraits. So just ask your clients what groups they want and what combination of those groups that they want. Now, because weddings are a once-in-a-lifetime thing, there are no reshoots, so it's really important that you shoot to cameras with backup options. So as a absolute bare minimum, you need to be shooting to a camera with 2 SD card slots so that when you're taking a photo, there are 2 versions of it immediately, one written to each SD card. You ideally would have 2 camera bodies just in case something goes wrong with the first camera body, and you also want to be shooting in RAW. But yeah, always shoot to 2 cards. Never ever less. Don't ever do that, because if that one SD card corrupts, someone's wedding photos are gone forever. Now I know that's sounds worrying. I don't want to worry you anymore because you're already probably quite nervous about shooting your first wedding, but do yourself a favor. If you don't have a camera with 2 SD card slots, please rent one. Otherwise, I promise you're going to be panicking on the day. So let's take that pressure off you. On your first wedding as well, you want to be overshooting. So take more photos than you think you could possibly need. This isn't a good approach for when you're doing it as a full-time job, because it's making your life a lot harder when there's a lot more photos to go through, and you're also training yourself to be less intentional when you're shooting. So for your first few weddings, just take more photos than you think you need, just so you've got that safety net there. Once you start beginning to understand a wedding day and training your eye to know when to take a photo, that's when you can start taking less images. But for now, yeah, there's no problem with overshooting. It's going to take a little bit longer in the culling and editing process, but that's okay. Every safety net you can provide yourself on the day is a win. So overshoot. For each part of the day as well, I think it's really useful to visualize what it is that you want to gain from every single part of the day. Visualize what you want to shoot. So for example, I'm going to take you through an entire wedding day and what it would usually look like. So you'd start the day with the bridal groom, usually in a bridal suite. So that's the first section of the day, just the getting ready shots. We're going to come back to what we shoot in each part of the day as well, but that's part one. Then you've got ceremony. Then you have the drinks reception, or cocktail hour, as it's sometimes called. So you've got people drinking and eating canapes for an hour.
How long's my lunch hour?
An hour.
You've then got speeches and wedding breakfast. Sometimes speeches come before wedding breakfast, sometimes after. Always good, by the way, to check with your clients what time of day things are happening. So get an itinerary beforehand if you can. And after the wedding breakfast, people again usually have like an hour of just chatting before anything else happens. Then you've got generally a cake cut, and then dance floor. That is the entire wedding day. So in terms of visualizing what it is you want to shoot, let's go through the entire day. So you've got bridal prep. So what do you want to shoot during bridal prep? You want to shoot hair and makeup going on to the bride. You want a shot of her dress, shots of the venue as well. This is a really good opportunity to get shots of the venue. Also, arrive 2 hours before the ceremony. That is, I find, the best amount of time to arrive. You might, as a new photographer, want to give yourself a little bit more time. So maybe 2.5 hours, just so you can have a look around the venue. You can take some venue shots, and then you can go to bridal suite or groom's suite. So that's the things that I'd visualize for part one of the day, which is bridal suite. And then you've got ceremony. So for the ceremony, I would say get the reaction of bridal groom at the front of the aisle, and then also get the bridal groom walking down the aisle. Best place to stand for this is at the front of the aisle. So generally you'd be standing next to the officiant or celebrant or priest. So you'd be able to point your camera at the person waiting at the front of the aisle. And then you'd also be able to see down the aisle as well. That's the best place when there's only one photographer to stand, in my opinion, because you can then see both of the couple's faces. So yeah, you want the reaction of person coming down the aisle, the person coming down the aisle, any bridesmaids or groomsmen coming down the aisle. And then you want a wide shot of all the guests and the couple in one photo, a closer up shot as well of the couple standing at the front of the aisle, closer up shot again of rings being exchanged, and then first kiss or anything else that's happening during the ceremony, like vows and things. Generally, I find it's best to kind of walk around a bit during the ceremony. Again, try and stay a little bit quiet during this time. Then during cocktail hour, generally what I tend to do is listen into people's conversations in the nicest way possible and figure out which groups are having the best conversation, having the most laughs. And then I'll hang around that group for a bit and I will find nice lighting. I will hold my camera up to them without taking a photo and just wait for someone to laugh, and that's when I'll click the shutter button. But again, overshoot, shoot everything you can, find out what the best lighting angles are. Yeah, again, this is really just a time for experimentation and play, so the more that you can shoot, the better. You're just training yourself passively by doing that. This is also the time as well to do the couple shoot. So during the cocktail hour at some point, just ask the couple if they want to go for a couple shoot. Now, you may not have done this already, but if you have had a look around the venue and had a look at where the lighting is best, take your couple on a walk through the venue, for a tour through the venue, where you've seen good lighting spots. So like a window where you've got side light coming through, or somewhere outside in the shade where you can keep your couple cool, and also the lighting is quite nice in the shade as well. This is a time I tend to take about 10 minutes doing the couple shoots. I try and keep it as relaxed as possible. So generally, most of the time, all I'm asking the couple do is to walk hand in hand and chat to each other about the day. That already tends to get them smiling and laughing. And yeah, just get some shots of them in motion, walking and smiling and laughing with each other. They're always nice. And then generally where I find somewhere that looks really nice, where the lighting is good or there's a good backdrop, I will ask them to stop, get really close, like stand waist to waist, so as close as they possibly can, and have a kiss. These are just some really, really easy prompts to get some really nice photos. But have a look on Pinterest, have a look at things that you think you'll like. Look up posing guides as well on YouTube if you want to do some posing. I don't have one out yet, but I will make one eventually. But yeah, I tend to keep my couple shoots really short and simple. Then you've got wedding breakfast and speech. Wedding breakfast is generally a time for you to have your break. The days are about 10 hours long, so make sure you do have a break and you have some food. Speeches, you want to have a kind of a long distance lens, so something like an 85mm or 70mm if you're using a zoom, and you just want to be looking for people's reactions to the speeches. Some people tend to cry during speeches, so I always try and target them, again in the nicest way possible. I'm sorry guys, but tears look great on photo. And you also want to be looking at the people speaking as well, so looking at the top table, seeing what's going on there. Just get a variety of shots again. This is once again why I'm telling you to overshoot. Just shoot as much as you possibly can, because you can't really go wrong if you're shooting that much. Now lastly, you have the dance floor, and we're going to go over flash settings in a little bit, because flash can be a little bit overwhelming to people who are shooting a dance floor for the first time. Generally, you're looking at the first dance, so the couple's first dance, and getting the couple in the frame, and then reactions of guests. Usually good to look at close family members and closest friends during this part of the day. And then just the dance floor, so everyone else dancing. I usually shoot the dance floor for about half an hour to an hour, and then I'll head off, but I will tend to only head off when the dance floor has died down a bit. Okay, let's quickly talk about flash settings, because flash is, again, very overwhelming for someone who's new to weddings. I'm going to bring up this flash photography cheat sheet on the screen now. What you're going to do is firstly assess the room that you're shooting in. So you're going to assess the dance floor. Now, what you're going to be looking for first is the ceiling. Is it low and is it white? If so, that is the perfect scenario you can find yourself in, because you've got a lot of room to play here. You can bounce it off the ceiling, which is what I would recommend, and you can try lots of other different things. It's the easiest kind of room to shoot in. So people find their own style with flash, but I'm going to recommend to you what I have found is the best settings for each scenario that you can find yourself in for a dance floor. So if we have a look at low white ceilings, which is the ideal scenario, what you're going to want to do is point your flash. So say the camera is facing towards you. You're going to point your flash up and over your shoulder. So pointing up and backwards. That'll illuminate the room as much as you need it to be illuminated. You're going to have your flash power at 1/128 or 1/256. I usually find 1/128 is the ideal amount. Shutter speed at 1/200, so that's a really good shutter speed to have across most dance floors. You don't really want to go below that, because then you'll start getting blurry subject. And you'll have your aperture at between f2.8 and f4. Now this is kind of a personal preference kind of thing. If you want your background to be a bit more blurry, go for 2.8. If you'd rather have people in the background a little bit more in focus, go for f4. Totally up to you. Again, play with it if you want. What's important here, and the thing that's going to be changing, is ISO. So keep all those settings that I've just told you at constant, and start at ISO maybe 4000. Now if it's still too dark, just keep bumping your ISO up. Go all the way up to about 12,800. Honestly, don't worry about shooting at high ISOs. Modern cameras can deal with it. If your photos are looking grainy, that is absolutely fine. Do not panic. Lightroom has an amazing anti-noise filter that you can run your photos through. Basically, it just uses AI to make your photos less grainy. Personally, I quite like grainy photos, but again, up to you. Now, you might be wondering why I use such a high ISO. And that is because I love having the ambiance of everyone dancing in the background, as well as my subject lit up. It's really easy to fall into the trap of just using full frontal flash, just lighting up your subject and isolating everything else, because technically that's a good photo, right? It's what you're trying to get in focus is your subject. But I find that a lot of photographers, even ones that are very experienced, can neglect what's going on in the background. I think for the dance floor to show a real sense of what it was like to be there is really important, because at the end of the day, that's what a photo is, right? It's a memory, and you want people to be able to be transported back to that moment. Now I'm going to quickly demonstrate how that works by showing you my flash on constant lighting mode. So say I'm the subject and you've flashed me, right? My face right now, I'm going to bring it down just so it's like, so this is what it would look like if I flashed my face, right? You can see the shadow of my head in the background. My face is really, really bright right now. So that's my subject being lit up. Obviously, I'm a little bit overexposed, so imagine this is perfectly exposed. Now the background, whilst yes, there is still a bit of light on the wall, a tiny bit, you can, where's my finger? You can see that a little bit. Oh my God, this is hard to do with the camera. A little bit of light has been added to the background, right? But a lot of light has been added to my face. That's what flash does. What ISO does is when you crank up the ISO, the light in the background will get brighter. So you bring your flash power down a bit, which is why I shoot at 1/128, which isn't that powerful. But then bring the ISO up to bring the background up as well. What that does is bring ambience into your shots, and it's such an easy way to make your nighttime photos so much better. So yeah, take that as a really easy tip to make your dance floor photos really good. But what happens if you don't have a low white ceiling? So if you've got a high ceiling or a dark ceiling, so it's low but it's black or something, then bouncing the flash off the ceiling isn't going to do a whole lot. The black is going to absorb the light. So what you want to do then is point your flash directly at your subject. So have flash on its lowest power, which is 1/256 usually. Shutter speed again at a constant of 1/200, and then your f-stop again at f2.8 to f4. Now again, ISO is the thing that needs adjusting here. So I'd usually say have the ISO at 800 and then bump it up if it needs more light. And then for empty dance floors, what I tend to do is I use a technique called shutter drag. The way that you do this is you have, again, your flash power at 1/256. Your shutter speed is the thing here that needs changing because you want it to be slower. I use shutter speed 1/30. Usually. Yeah, something around there works well. 1/30, 1/60, something like that. And aperture at f8 so that everything is in focus, or most things are in focus. And then again, ISO 800 and play around with that as well if it's too light or too dark, etc. And what you want to do here is when you're taking the photo, so when you're pressing the shutter button, you want to wiggle the camera a little bit. So obviously it's at 1/30, so that's 1/30th of a second. So that's not a long exposure, but longer than usual. So you will be able to see the movement. What's going to happen is your flash is going to freeze the subject in time, and everything else around it is going to move. So that could be any lights in the background, any other people in the background. It's going to make it look, it's going to make the frame look quite busy, which is why it's so good for dance floors that have died down a little bit. It makes it look more alive, essentially. So even if there are only a few people in the room, if you do a shutter drag technique, it will look a lot more interesting than if you just took a normal photo. So I know that's been a lot of information and I hope it's been really helpful. The bottom line is just do your research, talk to your couple and understand what it is that they want, and make sure that they know that you are new to this and things could go wrong. Just expect not a lot of me, to be honest. And that way you will alleviate some of the pressure. And that is the most important thing. You really don't want to be feeling anxious on a wedding day because people look to you for confidence. Again, your photos probably aren't going to be amazing. You will learn as you grow. Even if you are an experienced photographer in something else, weddings are such a high-paced environment that can be difficult to get used to. So cut yourself some slack. Know that the photos aren't going to be the best work that you ever do, but make sure that you come away from it having felt like you have a positive attitude. And I guarantee you will love it. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and as always, I will see you in the next one.